Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
I assume Tom.
Hi.
Maggie. Hi, how are you, Maggie? Good morning.
How are you? Good morning.
I'm great. You know, my friends went to last night's screening. I got to see it about a month ago, so they were excited to see you in person.
Oh.
And I'm glad that I get to see you virtually today. Congratulations on the Protege.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for helping us promote it. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's a fantastic film. You know, it's been so long in seeing a movie that, you know, not only has an amazing cast, I mean, and you get to beat up on Batman, but on top of that, you know, it's an action thriller that we haven't seen in a while. This is kind of a genre that's faded to the background, but here you are as Anna, and you're bringing it to the forefront. And what I really appreciated with the film more than anything is that your character is a very strong woman without having to posture and like look at the camera and make the announcement. Like it's already there because she's a survivor.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Wow, Martin would be really happy to hear that.
You know, take us through the film itself. I know, you know, you're working with Sam Jackson, who plays essentially your adoptive father in this.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's a story of, you know, people with trust issues, people that have witnessed horrific things
Mm-hmm.
and still yet trying to find compassion in their own lives,
Mm-hmm.
yet keeping everyone at an arm's distance.
Mm-hmm. I know, what a balancing act, right? No one really knows her. And that's why I think her and Moody's relationship in the film is so important, because when you feel all the things inside, you've seen what you've seen, you've experienced, and you don't want to go there. You don't really want people to know you, right? Because then they may get a sneak peek of what's inside. And so the balance that she lives in her life is, you know, she's got the trust with like the person that she trusts. And outside of that, no one else knows her. And that's a really lonely existence. You know, even her best friend, who she owns the bookstore with and all that, knows nothing about her. You know, she's living this duality that, first of all, has to be very exhausting. And also, like I said, it is a very lonely place to be. So really, like when we talk about like the vengeance, you know, the poster says it's made for vengeance in this movie, that is even born out of love. This is the only person that mattered to her. And outside of him, the only person who's ever sparked her interest is Michael Keaton's character, because she's a special woman. And what mattered to Martin more than anything was these characters and developing them in the right way so that people actually cared about their connection. And there was a cost to what was happening, what was in front of you. One of the things Martin hates more than anything, and I won't cite the movies that he cited to me, but he hates an empty action film. He hates when there's no character development. He hates there's no arcs. There's no, you really don't care about anyone you're watching, but you're entertained because there's lots going on the screen. It's so empty. It doesn't leave anyone with anything. And they're not films you remember. And so we were hyper aware to not do that.
Well, I had to check the timestamp to sit there and go, this is really 100 minutes. It felt like 45 the way it flew by because of the way everything happened.
Are you going to interview Martin? Because you need to. I mean, all of these things you're saying, he was so adamant about the edit. We have by the way, a female editor on this film who's so talented. Oh my gosh. And she was there every step of the way. And they were sort of editing as we went. She was with us in Romania for a long time and then was working remotely for a little bit. But in real time, Martin wanted to see and make sure that not only the chemistry was working in the right way, but that the movie moved, you know, because you can't really have lulls in energy with something like this. Like this is like, there has to be a stake and it has to be high really the whole time. You know, so we set them up and then the movie just goes. And that was Martin's dream. And he called me up and said, darling, I've cut a lot. And I said, oh, okay. And he goes, don't be upset with me. I said, I'm not going to be upset with you. And he's like, but honey, he's like, it really moves. And I really want our audience to be on a ride. And I don't want to disappoint them in that way. So you'll understand when you see it. And when I saw it, I was thrilled. I actually forgot about a bunch of the scenes we'd cut.
You know, you mentioned with Anna's character how nobody really knows her and that everyone is kind of at an arm's length, like they have a slight perception of her.
Yes.
but without getting to know her. And with all the years that I've interviewed actors and filmmakers and musicians, you
Mhm.
know, it's this, we have a sense of who you are, but no
Right.
one really knows who you are.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
close is that to you on a personal level with a character like this, even though you're not an assassin,
Sure,
obviously?
sure.
But,
But aren't
but
I? Just kidding.
well, we never know, right?
That you didn't know me.
Yeah.
No, I think that's very astute. I mean, great observation. I sort of feel like there is an arm's length that has to happen, obviously with the public, because there's the more you let people in, the more you can get hurt, right? And so there's a lot of that. Creative people can always get hurt because they're creatives, you know, they're very sort of heart led and whatnot. And I'm not saying every creative, but for the most part. And so I think there has to be a healthy distance, because otherwise I think you'd be too affected by what people think or what they say or whatnot. And I know for me, I think it's always been a natural thing, way pre-fame, pre-movies, any of that. I was always very selective in my life. There was always just a handful of people that meant a whole lot to me. And that was it. And that's kind of how I know a lot of people, but the ones that are important to me are like, I can really count on one hand, and they're my central focus.
Well, I mean, it shows through in the film itself, and the character itself of Anna being, you know, it's essentially also an immigrant story in the
Mm.
worst possible way, because so many people have faced whether genocide, you know, war, famine, whatever else that led them out, and especially loss of loved ones.
Mhm.
That it's also kind of, in a weird sense, a rags to riches story, because she can blend in anywhere
Mhm.
without just being from East Asia, or without being American or
100%.
Eastern European or whatever else.
Yeah.
And that's when Michael Keaton, and this is the only spoiler I'm going to throw out there,
Yeah.
looks at Anna in the bookstore and goes, interesting, or, you know, or intriguing, you know,
Yeah.
and that's it. It's
That's
just a one
interesting.
word.
Yeah. And what a great word, right? Because he doesn't quite know what just happened. He doesn't know who he's looking at. He doesn't know. And I don't think a lot of people are going to think too much about this, but we obviously have to in a pre-production, and we do a lot. But like, one of the things I really wanted to do with her in the beginning, when she's in London and, you know, she's being raised by this person and she's really left all that behind, is she's a redhead, you know, with this long red hair, and she's very Western, you know, she's very sort of like, you can't put your finger on her. And that's the point. She doesn't want to be who she doesn't want to be what she remembers. She wants to be as far away from that as possible, because it's just way too painful. And then when she goes back, she's like, I'm going to face it and I'm going to be me. I'm going to go back and I'm going to be who I was. Like that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to face this as someone else. If I'm going back, I'm going to go back to my roots. And that's what she does. And so it's kind of a really interesting thing that you do with looks that you're not saying explicitly, but if people are paying attention, you can kind of catch, you know, those things that we think a lot about and put a lot of time and energy into.
Well, unfortunately, I only have one haircut that I could deal with at this point, because, you know, God did it to me. What can you do? But unfortunately, Maggie, we have run out of time. I wish
Oh,
we could do a deeper exegy into
I know,
the
me too.
breakdown of each of these characters,
Oh,
but you know, you got a full day, as do I, and I thank you so much. The Protege is available on August 20th, and you know, give us a tagline, and then where we can find you on social media if we want to connect with you.
oh, okay. Well, I would love you guys to catch me in the Protege in theaters on August 20th. You can find us at the Protege movie, at Maggie Q, at Lionsgate. We're so excited to bring this to you in the theaters, which was why we made it. We wanted it on the big screen. So I encourage you to go see it on the big screen.